If truth is what you seek, keep an eye out for this symbol and your next instructions.
My dear subscribers, I've been at a loss lately trying to decide the next beverage to be featured on Steam Pour. After my mysterious encounter in the tea room last episode, if you can even call it an encounter, my thoughts have been consumed with questions. My brain feels like a coffee cup swirling with milk. My thoughts just as cloudy as milk, too. Maybe a quick cup of coffee is just what I need to get my thoughts together. I have a coupon I got in the mail for this pop-up cafe that just opened up a few miles away. When I woke up the next morning after finding the box, I wrote back to the LeafBean Legacy. I wanted to know more. Dear LeafBean Legacy, I must admit that while you caught me off guard with the letter I found in my purse, the subsequent scavenger hunt in the rose garden was actually quite fun. I'm not sure who you are or why you've chosen to reach out to me, but the biggest thing on my mind is this. Why all the secrecy? Why so many riddles? I appreciate the gorgeous box you gave me as a gift. It is a wonderful art of craftsmanship. I had thought it was meant to open, but so far I've had no luck. Is this some sort of trick? I need to know I can trust you. When will I get some answers? Sincerely, Savor. I hid it in the hole in the wall where I found the box, and the next day when I went to check on it, it was gone. I had no way of knowing whether it fell into the right hands until just yesterday when I received their reply.
Dear Saver, the answers will come all in good time. To prove yourself worthy of answers, it is us who must determine that we can trust you. The secrets we hold are too great to allow untested eyes to see and untried ears to hear. Do you exhibit the qualities we suspect you to possess? If you prove yourself to us, knowledge will be yours. Signed, the LeafBean Legacy.
Is that the LBL symbol? Okay, I guess I'll take a kids menu. I don't even see coffee on here. What are they planning this time? Okay, well, it looks like they want me to color. Whoa, what's this? A note? Guide you. Why does it start mid-sentence? Maybe there's something in this marker. Uh-huh. This flag will show you the origin. What flag? Before having your morning coffee, you should know its heritage. What if I try... Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Before having your morning coffee, you should know its heritage. While our origins are planted in the beginning of time, this flag will show you the origins of coffee. Where the city turns green, yellow, and red, let smell and taste guide you. Take time to talk with the keepers of tradition. Listen for stories, then find a way to share them.
Oh, easy. This is the flag of Ethiopia. And I know just where to go to get lost in the culture. As I walk through Little Ethiopia, I can see, hear, and smell stories all around me. People greeting one another, asking questions, the smell of flatbread and spices, the sound of footsteps, some rushing and some lingering. Each story a tiny thing in and of itself, but coming together they weave a bigger tapestry that makes the colorful fabric that is the streets of Little Ethiopia. And not just Little Ethiopia either. Storytelling has been an important tradition in every culture since the beginning of time. Stories use the highest highs and the lowest lows of the human spirit to allow us to stay connected to each other and to our roots, preserve values and traditions, and give people perspective on the world we all live in. Every teller has their own perspective, and every listener has a unique emotional connection. Storytelling can reach across the centuries to show things that last. It's a great way to show what a culture is like and what values it holds most dear. Oral storytelling in Ethiopia throughout the ages has always been a way to fill the need for human connection. In many African songs, the singer calls out a line and the people repeat it back, sharing a communal experience in which participation is encouraged. The LeafBean Legacy's letter said, "Take time to talk with the keepers of tradition." Maybe I should do some asking around about traditions or origins involving coffee. The more people I talk with, the more I learn about coffee. It turns out that Ethiopia is the original birthplace of the discovery of coffee. This must be what the LeafBean Legacy meant when they wrote that the Ethiopian flag would lead me to understand the origin of coffee. According to the man I talked with, the story goes back to a nomadic goat herder named Kaldi way back in ancient times. He noticed that his goats were acting hyper after eating red berries from a bush. When Kaldi had the berries looked into, it was discovered that they could be roasted and chewed for a stimulating snack. When I asked the man what he meant by "had the berries looked into," he laughed and said, "This is where the story evolves into something more colorful, as stories tend to do through the ages." He said according to some, Kaldi took the berries to the village monks and described their effect on his goats. The monks concluded that by their behavior it sounded as if the devil himself had gotten into the goats, so they threw the berries into the fire to cleanse them of evil. As we know, coffee beans are encased in the red flesh of the coffee berry, so naturally they started giving off the most wonderful aroma. It smelled so great that the monks decided the berries were now cleansed of the evil and safe to eat. It wasn't until centuries later that anyone thought to brew these roasted berries to make a beverage. In fact, coffee went through a few evolutions before being the drink we know today. Ethiopian villagers would grind the coffee beans into paste to make them more portable for travel. From there, it became the earliest known drinkable version of the beverage, an unroasted, fermented drink that was more similar to wine than our idea of coffee. Inspired by the brewing process of tea, people in Turkey in the 13th century began to experiment with the roasting and brewing of the beans, finally achieving the fragrant, dark, full-bodied beverage we have now come to love. Not long after that, an ancient coffee tradition began to form among a group of people in Ethiopia called the Oromo. They believed that coffee stems from God's tears. Every part of the process of making coffee was an act of worship to thank God for providing for us, to honor nature, and sometimes to ask for the blessing of rain. The beans were roasted to symbolize purity, much like the monks during Kaldi the goat herder's time. The aroma would make sure the aromatic smoke reaches high toward heaven as possible, as well as use their hands to waft the smoke in the direction of everyone present, making sure each guest inhaled a little. Next, the grinding of the beans using a flat stone was to symbolize sacrifice. The coffee was made and served under a type of tree called a warka tree, considered to be a sacred tree. It was customary for a woman to prepare and serve the coffee because the Oromo people saw the spirit of woman as the spiritual embodiment of the sacred warka tree. Overall, coffee was seen as a beverage to connect humans, God, and nature. Today, the coffee ceremony is still very much alive and well in Ethiopian culture. Some households even perform it 3 times a day. When I asked the cashier who sold me the coffee beans, they explained the modern meaning of the ceremony. The purpose of the ceremony is to put aside daily distractions for an hour a day and really connect with your friends and family. It's also for creating an atmosphere of welcoming and an offer of friendship for new acquaintances. Hospitality and respect are important themes in the ceremony. The way the coffee area is set up is designed to create a full atmospheric effect by engaging as many of the 5 senses as possible. It has a wonderful way of taking the commonplace and making it extraordinary. It's usually served with a light snack. The popcorn is to represent peace and beauty due to its flower shape. For instructions to prepare your own Ethiopian coffee ceremony, please click the like button, then read the description below this video. While you're at it, I would love to hear about your own experiences with it in the comments. Since I can't do justice to the full ceremony, I'll condense the steps to the best of my ability. My beans are already washed and roasted, and I made sure to grind them into a powder that's not too coarse nor too fine, but somewhere in the middle, so that it will be easier for them to settle to the bottom of my pot. Some Ethiopians add spices to the jebena while brewing, or an herb called roux, which has a tangy flavor that can brighten the taste of the coffee. This clay brewing pot is called a jebena. It's specifically shaped in such a way as to keep what's inside to a specific temperature. The shape of the pot also is made to allow the beverage to pour as cleanly as possible and leave the grinds behind in the pot. When the steam begins escaping from the top, that's when it's time to remove it from the heat. It also helps to angle the jebena and wait a few minutes after taking it from the heat. Pour slowly, holding the jebena about a foot above the cups. Over the course of the ceremony, each person is served 3 cups of coffee. The first cup, arbol, is the strongest coffee and sets the lively tone for the gathering. The second cup, tona, is milder. With the third cup, bereka, the eldest person present asks a blessing over the friends and family gathered around. Dear LeafBean Legacy, you instructed me to listen for stories. Sometimes I spend so much time trying to weave my own story that I forget that there are stories being told all around me, and all I have to do is listen, look, and yes, even smell, touch, and taste. It leaves me wondering, do I shape stories, or do stories shape me? Either way, you said that once I find the stories, I must find a way to share them. I think sharing and connecting is what drinks such as tea and coffee are all about. Steampour is more than just a channel. It's a community meant to bring people together. Storytelling connects us to ourselves and to each other. It is an act of remembrance, of preservation, a way to capture and pass along values of a culture. And there is something about brewed drinks that is simultaneously both somehow social and introspective at the same time. Maybe there is some kind of connection between brewed drinks and the stories unfolding all around us and within us. And somehow, I believe that my journey with you will show me that. Through exploring the Ethiopian origins of coffee, I have learned much about history and culture. As I said in the last episode about Earl Grey, history is important to get right because it holds evidence that is meant to point us toward truth. But I now know that there is a difference between history and storytelling, in which truth is shaped by the movements of people and time. I look forward to seeing where the next adventure will take me. Sincerely, Savor. I guess the best way to make sure the LeafBean Legacy gets my letter would be to leave it at that pop-up cafe from earlier. Wait, how is this possible? There was a little pop-up cafe here just this morning, and now there's absolutely no trace of it ever having existed. Well, almost no trace. Stacked Books Cafe. Why do I feel like this logo is trying to tell me something? You know, it kind of reminds me of the shape of... Wait a minute. I think I just figured out how to open the box. Steampur.